Well, good day. Hope you're all enjoying your day and the beautiful weather that we're having here. One of the things that I want to talk about is to build on some of the experiences that you've all had since you've been here and listening to some of these TED Talks this morning, especially around connectivity and service. One of the things that we talk about all the time when we talk about educational reform is fixing schools. And as you look here, that's the first phase that we think about. So how many of you actually have been involved or have had your children in an urban school environment? If you could see a show of hands. Yeah, not many. And yet we talk all the time about fixing these broken schools. How do we know they're broken? Broken in relationship to what? Okay? Is it the school that's broken, or is it the community that is in need of change? So when we talk about urban school reform, it's not enough to just focus on the unique aspect of the individual school, because those kids come from somewhere and they go to somewhere every day. And we have them in public schools and private schools for 180 days maximum during a school year, right? So think about that. We're saying we're going to fix education. We're going to fix these kids in 180 days in 6.5 hours, each of those 180 days. I contend that that's a mistake. I contend that if we try to fix the school, we're going to be failures. And we've seen it over and over and over again. If you look at places where most of your children went to school, they were successful partially because of the school, but they were successful partially because of the community. And so it's not about fixing schools, it's about developing communities. And I want to go one step further and say it's not about developing communities, because that implies that we do something to the community. Really, it's about helping communities build the capacity to grow and transform themselves. And so my talk today is about just that. It's about transforming urban schools and using a systems approach. We've heard earlier about we can't fix water supplies with just an engineer, that we need multiple perspectives. Well, we can't fix schools with just teachers. I was naive enough when I first entered this work to think all we really have to do is to fix the principals. If we can get the principals to know the right thing and to do the right thing, we'll fix those schools. Wrong. Schools are made up of multiple systems: interactive, parents, community, health, family, students, teachers, all interacting together. And if we just try to pluck off one of those, let's say we're going to make better teachers, is that going to fix the schools? Probably not. What we really need to do is to understand that it is a systems approach. Clearly, we need to have some foundational elements. The first of those is we have to have a curriculum that's rigorous and relevant, right? Not boring, not rote, but rigorous and relevant. To the kids who are struggling the most, we have to challenge the most. Instead of giving them the McGuffey reader that many of us had when we went to school and learned to see Jim run or see Spot chase the cat, we need to give them really rigorous material. We can teach kids in elementary schools higher order math. We can teach kids how to think if we expect them and provide them the skills necessary. And it has to be relevant. It has to meet their needs, not just our needs. The second area is that the instruction has to be both leveled. It has to meet your level where you are at the point in time. So teaching to a group like this isn't going to make it. It's really focusing on the individual need and mass customizing the opportunity. But it also has to be relational. I have to be able to connect with you. All of us, think about the person in your mind who was the best teacher you ever had? I would tell you they probably were very rigorous and demanded a lot of you, but they also connected individually with you. You felt that they were related to you. They understood you. They had a sense of who you are and where you were going. So it's not enough for me to just stand up here or a teacher to just stand up and do a presentation. Leveled and relational instruction. Engaging. Not a do to, but have kids learn to do with, right? That's the important thing. Getting kids to be actively engaged and participants in their own learning is an important, critical aspect. You can't start that at 11th grade, right? If we've taught kids to sit and be quiet and listen and take notes from kindergarten to 11th grade, and then we say to them, oh, now we want you to do the following, isn't going to happen. The best instruction that I've ever seen is a kindergarten teacher who gets kids engaged in the learning. Ask them the questions. Ask them to think about things that they haven't been thinking about before. And we have to make sure that the kids that go to our schools are going to school in a healthy, safe environment. Big topic right now, many of you are hearing about, is bullying. Gang involvement in our urban communities. Lots of things. If I have to walk to school every morning worried about whether I'm going to get there, whether I'm going to get beaten up, the chances of me being able to think about and focus on how to factor a quadratic equation go down substantially. Notice that all of that takes place before they get to school, right? So the point that we're saying is that school is part of a much larger system. And as we really begin to think about school reform, we need to begin to think about fixing and focusing on housing-related issues, health-related issues, and employability issues. Now we move into the community focus. And so we're talking, this is fairly complex, but I'll boil it down quickly, into an understanding, first of all, that whatever we do with, not to. Right? I'm the university professor. I know best. I'm coming into your community, and I'm going to tell you how to fix your urban schools. Guess what kind of reaction I get when I walk into those communities? Give us some money, thank you very much, and then get out of here. Right? But if we say to that individual, if we say to that community, tell us what your needs are. What is it that you see happening within your community that makes a difference? In the south side of Bethlehem, one of the big areas was asthma. We have kids, high levels of asthma. So now we have a community greenway where kids are not walking to school on the street with buses and traffic, but they're walking in an old revitalized railroad bed that has been now with trees, and the asthma rate, the loss of time from school has gone down substantially. So it's about building collaborative networks with people in the community to address those critical areas of housing, of workforce development, and health. Putting clinics in schools and allowing parents and kids to use those clinics so that they are healthy and are well fed and can maintain the time in school allows us then to use that relevant curriculum, allows us to have higher performing teachers so that they can move the bar forward. And so as we think about this, I want to give you 3 quick examples of that notion of not fixing schools, but really paying attention to building capacity in communities. The Harlem Children's Zone, Jeffrey Canada, has been featured many times. 60 Minutes most recently did a special on him where he took 97 blocks of Harlem. And he said, we're going to make the school the focus of attention, but we're going to engage all kinds of different organizations. And they did a resource map to find out what resources existed in the community, what resources were needed in the community with community leaders. And they've been in business now for almost a decade. And what we're seeing is high school graduation rate, coming out of the Harlem schools that at one point were in their 30% are now in the 80% range. We fix communities. We work collaboratively with communities to make that happen. In our own backyard here in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania, we have what we call the Community Schools for Student Success, or COMPAS. The Greater Lehigh Valley United Way has collaborated bringing and establishing a community school involvement that puts clinics in schools, that engages hospitals, that engages workforce development, local business volunteer, local business engagement, and we now have 8 community schools operating in Bethlehem and in Allentown, and we're beginning to see those metrics of school readiness, of reduction in absenteeism, and student achievement starting to tick up, because we're training parents, we're working on food service delivery, we're providing healthy environments for kids to learn. These all are connected then to a larger concept that is now looking at, from a public policy standpoint, creating what we call promise neighborhoods, where the money is coming from a variety of sources, business and industry, government sources, education sources, all being funneled into a community collaborative that is designed to address the needs of a school, but also the need of a specific area. It requires a whole community. So I'll leave you with this concept that says, if you recall the old African proverbs that it takes a community to raise a child, I think that that's passé. I think it takes a community to empower and build capacity in a community so that everyone in that community learns. So that it requires you and me to provide service in that community. It requires business and industry to commit to that community, and we need to do this neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood, and it has to be a collective venture. That's the work that we're doing right now at Lehigh. That's the work that's making a difference, and I appreciate your time and effort. And the last thing I would say to you is, raise your right hand high, please. Now, raise it a little higher. I want you to begin to make a promise to yourself and to us that you will make a commitment to whatever community you're in to be an active community member. Service is a part of being good citizens. So thank you for your time, thank you for your energy, and we'll have a good day.